Hello again. Time for making some comics. Jerzy Drozd. All that information is right below me. Things find out about me. Cartoonist, teaching artist, and I am coloring hopefully a couple pages of comics today. We'll see. We'll see. I'm just wrapping up flatting a page, and you can hang out with me while I do a little bit of paint bucketing and a little bit of. I'm gonna get my glove on. Chat client open too. That'd be helpful so I could see what people are saying when they say it. Oh, goodness gracious. Of course. It logged me out. That's the one thing I didn't check before I got started today. I'm going to get better at this. Oh, hey, Rachel. You forgot all of the names of these characters? Well, we can have a run through again today. This is the Captain SRSLY project. And we're looking at Madeleine right now. And I'm just grabbing my password to my chat client. All right, where'd you go, chat client? There you are. There. I assure you there will be no quiz. Nobody's being graded on what we're doing today. As you can see, I also got my overhead camera working again. You want to know what it was? You want to hear the big hack I had to do in order to get it working? I rebooted. All the people in IT. Turns out they're right. Pink for the helmet. I was all prepared to do a whole bunch of like troubleshooting to figure out like, oh, did the NDI plugin have an update that I didn't know about? I was like, oh, I wonder if I should just reboot and see what happens. And it fixed it. Just in the nick of time too, because I had a class the next day. And I use this setup a lot in my online classes. Might just use the brush for this part. There we go. That's fine. I'm not being precise right now with my flats because I got a secret I'm going to show you today. I use OBS a lot for my classes now, and I'm just thinking, like, these poor kids, they spent so much time this last year in Zoom. The last thing I want to do is give them another class that looks like Zoom. So I spent a lot of time like learning how to use this software, both for like projects like Building to Artcast and what I'm doing right now, but also to improve my work as a teacher. Thinking about visual interest a lot, being able to switch like constantly to like, okay, we're now focused on the overhead cam, right? And then switch back to that, switch to, whoops, just me. So I could talk to them a little bit about something or other, and then I could switch to Chrome, which I don't have open, and with an overlay of me talking about the stuff that I have open in Chrome. So the idea being is that like when I teach in person, I move around the room a lot. I try to be very active in the room and like try to like think about like how my voice and what my movements are like helping to not just communicate to the students, but like thinking about keeping them engaged in the thinking activities that we're doing. I talked about this stuff in my what is it called? The art sound offs that I did last year. Oh, that's a drag, Rachel. They got to get a Stream Deck. I mean, a new Stream Deck. I think that's the same color as that. There we go. Yeah, I know that churches have been doing a lot of this research as well for similar reasons, right? This is the thing where typically it's you gather in person to do the thing. Yeah. That's. I was trying to think about. So, like, when I started thinking about, I was like very resistant to the idea of teaching online, and that was one of the main reasons. Was that the whole like moving around business, because I rely on it so heavily as a teaching technique. And then also, the whole idea of one of the things I really treasure is the teaching experience is being able to have a mini sort of lesson with shy students, right? Because there's like, especially when it comes to like art, art is one of those things where it feels very dangerous to share your work, especially when you're not very experienced at it, right? Like, I mean, and I'm not trying to be overly sensitive to the idea. I think this is true because like I just posted on Instagram yesterday. I've been doing this sort of retrospective of my past decade as an artist and like thinking about all the things that I've done and learned and where my head was at and all these different parts of my career. Actually, let's do it this way. Let's get this gray. I'm gonna change it to white afterwards. And one of the things I was remembering was when I took a watercolor class back in 2018, and I never did watercoloring, and I've spent a good portion of my career as an artist convincing myself that I am a cartoonist and nothing else. I have no business, messing around with other media. That's for real artists. That's telling. And so when I took that watercolor class, I mean, I was like really thrusted back into this feeling of, oh, teacher, don't single me out. Don't single me out. I don't want anybody to see what I'm doing here, And I think about that when I'm teaching kids, is that it feels very dangerous to share your work. And so like when there's a kid who's like clearly into what they're doing, but they're very protective of it. I like that, the whole idea of like zooming in and like having like this close one-on-one quiet little thing where I'm not drawing too much attention to them, but I am honoring their contributions and their hard work, right? Whoops, wrong color. Can't do that in Zoom as easily. I mean, I guess you could have a breakout room, but then still you're drawing attention to them because you're like, hey, Judy, join me in the breakout room, right? So like that's one thing when I was thinking about, the move to teaching online this past year, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to forego the idea of getting that. But what advantages does it have? And what disadvantages? Well, like, what can I do that optimizes what online does well? And what can I do? I don't want to just replace the experience. How do I, like, create a new... what am I trying to say? Use online tools to achieve similar results. There we go. I get really nervous about thinking about like, well, we'll just do the same thing. Like, for instance, like when you're thinking about a church mass or a service, you don't want to just set a camera on a tripod pointing up at the front of the church. just mic your pastor or your priest. Like, what can you do that, like, and then that gets you thinking about, like, what are we trying to accomplish with this in the first place? What's our goal together? I love thinking about that stuff. It's also an opportunity to think about what is the mission. Okay, that goes. That's her arm. And let's get the whoops. Almost done flatting this, and then I get into coloring. Okay. The green. Yeah, it sounds easy, doesn't it? Till you do it. I see. So in your case, you have people in the building, but you're just using social distancing measures and then like streaming software to sort of like put it into an overflow room kind of thing. Strikes colors. Strike purple. Where's my purple? There it is. So this is, for those who are keeping track, this is Monstrark, the leader of the Maniacal Monster Syndicate, or MMS. Whoops. When I was first working on this project, and this is like one of the pieces that feels like it is potentially out of date, they wanted me to incorporate SMS and MMS into the story somehow, because kids love their phones. And this was 2012, 2011. So texting was still being done over MMS and SMS. Oops, got a white spot there. Got to fill in. I don't know how important those terms are to young people, if they ever were. But so I came up with this idea of the heroes would have the acronym or abbreviation of SMS, or the Supermaster Sentinels, and the villains would have MMS, or Maniacal Monster Syndicate. Yeah, I'm not convinced that was like a terribly important thing to incorporate in the story, and I've never heard a student say to me, or a kid say to me, like, "Oh, you did it like texting language. That makes it more relevant to me." But you know, it's fine. It was a creative constraint that was. Limitations breed creativity and all that stuff. So. Okay, you can see I've got a whole bunch of white spots or transparent areas in my flats. These are not good flats, and I'm going to demo this on Thursday's Lean Into Art. Oh, please, please, please. Did I just do it wrong? I sure did. Okay, what I need to do is hide this. Oh, how am I going to do this, Jerzy? How are you going to do this? Okay. You are going to hide that art, and you're going to fill this in with white. That's what you're going to do. And you just did, I think. Let's make sure, turn my paper layer off. Yes. And now that's all white. Okay, excellent. Okay, so let's hide this layer. And I'm going to use this tool in Clip called, what is this called? Correct line width. I'm going to quickly zap all around the image. It's going to fill in all of the blank spots with the surrounding colors. Oh, I did it wrong again. Grab my paint bucket, put some white there, white there. I may need to adjust this a little bit afterwards, but we shall see. Yeah, this week's Lean Into Art Thursday is going to be a mini workshop episode where I demo like how I flat these pages so quickly, because I get these done in like 20 minutes or so. And turn back on my line art and just make a few quick corrections if necessary, like right there on Monstrark's chair. So the idea for Monstrark, if you haven't picked up on it, is he's the king of the monsters. He's the monarch of the monsters, Monstrark. Which I always thought was, clever enough. But it turns out that it's kind of hard to say, especially for little kids. How did I find this out? We do live readings in the schools, and people trip up on that name. I'm like, okay, well, yeah. Maybe it's too clever by half, as they like to say. Hello, Jonesing Simba. Let me fix a little bit more of my flats here, and then I can move on to coloring the previous page. Got some mask stuff going on here. So I'm masking in some art from a previous comic. Whoops. Okay. And that's also, I think, some mask artifacts that need to be removed. Yep. That's exactly what it is. One quick pass around the page to make sure there's no weirdness with the way I've fixed all the fills. Aha! So now the trick is, and this is part of the gimmick of this issue, is that this device that Madeleine uses robs you of your feelings. Oh, I had area scaling on, didn't I? Dad, blast it. I did have area scaling on. Boom. And it leaves you black and white. So the second half of the book is going to be in black and white, so the kids can color it in. Yeah, RestreamBot is acting really goofy. Let me see if I can turn that off. Chat app. No, that's the chat app. Where's my RestreamBot? Settings. Yeah, I see it's like reposting people's messages over and over and over again. No. What is it under? Social alerts? Oh, come now. If I turn off RestreamBot, is it in here? Bot. Let's see what you can do. Let's see what make you stop. I'm gonna turn off relay mode, bot. There we go. I turned it off. Hopefully that makes it better. We shall see. Because yeah, one comment was getting posted over and over and over and over again. And it is not the fault of the commenter. That is the fault of RestreamBot being weird. Okay. So page 5 is flatted. We'll save our work. Go back to page 4. Where are you, page 4? This one has been flatted this morning. And let's focus on our colors now. Save our work. Which I have for other layers. I'm going to make my flats layer into a reference layer so I can refer to it wherever layer I'm on. And let's also turn on select all pixels of that color, and that will go to. I'm going to do a quick little burst in here. No, don't want to make it too pale. There we go. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not happy with how I want that to be brighter, so I'm going to copy and I'm going to duplicate my flats layer, and I'm just going to do it right on the flats layer. There, that's some contrast. Oh, well, Jones and Simba, I mean, thanks for stopping by and checking out this channel. This is comics as an art form in particular. That's what I'm focusing on. Working in an app called Clip Studio Paint, and I try to talk through my process while I'm going. What I'm doing now is I actually have my highlights and my shadows on 2 different layers in Clip Studio Paint, and I have them set to different layer modes. So my highlights is set to lighten, and that's at 50% opacity, and my shadows are set to multiply at 50% opacity, and then I just use the same shading color for everything. And then it just mixes with the colors underneath. So everything will get different shades. And this is one of those parts that I feel like is like, it's tricky, but it's learnable. It's just like thinking about like the contours and how the light source would interact with them. Another reason I like working on a shading layer rather than coloring on the flats is that I can just erase when I goof instead of having to like grab the paint color nearby. No, I'm not going to do that. Nope. Apply to local pixels. Ah, fudge. I know what I did wrong there. Got to close my shapes. Close your shapes, and then you can use your fill tool. There's this skin tone. No, I'm not clipping or masking. I know that that's a technique that a lot of people do with their flats, Steven. But no, I just put it over top, and then I just use the magic wand tool to select the color shape in the flats below, and I just leave that selection on while I'm shading. But it essentially does the same thing as what would happen if I was using a clipping layer. That's a pretty interesting technique. I know fellow Leaner to Art leader Dado has a great tutorial on this on Clip Studio's tips website. I'm going to try to do this as quickly as I can because anybody who's been showing up for my live streams has probably heard me do this again and again. This idea of like I'm trying to beat the clock. I'm trying to... I don't have a ton of time to finish this book. You know what I just saw? Look at that. See how that flat is not complete? I'm going to turn off my selection, turn off my highlights and shadows layers, and fill in that blue real quick on both layers. Boom, boom, boom. Turn it all back on. Go back to the flats layer. Grab my selection tool. Now I'm going to go to my highlights layer. That blue is all selected, and I'm going to put gradient on it. Nothing fancy. And let's go to Dame Lady Cat now. Grab her nose too. Highlights layer is still on, so I'm just going to quickly give her a highlight, and then I'm going to go to the shadows layer, grab my shadows color, hide all my windows. I could actually have my keyboard up here. So this VioZ canvas, like the keyboard totally pops off and it's still connected by a Bluetooth. So you do key commands. So I should have this on so I can quickly tab away my interface. There we go. Look at that. So the shadows are on this side. I'm going to clean this up. Tab back, get my transparent pixels, and let's... There's panel 1. How long have I been streaming? It's really been 29 minutes? Is that right? Oh my goodness, it has. Well, thanks for that, Jones. Jonesing Simba. Yeah, I thought it would probably be more interesting to actually see, like, when you're watching the art happen, like watching the hand do it. This is another thing I started doing for my online classes. I use this when I'm doing, like, even if I'm doing, like, whiteboard stuff, because it feels more like what you'd get in real life, where you're actually watching the artist do the drawing, right? That was the idea, anyway. So yeah, I just have like an old iPhone just mounted on a tripod pointed down at my screen. I mean, I'm asking for something precious from y'all right now. I'm asking for your time. It's a non-renewable resource, and I want to be respectful about that. And provide something that's as interesting as possible. Oops. Look, too close to Captain Seriously. Go up here. And now let's go to the shadows layer. I think I still did too bright. No, maybe not. I guess that wasn't that much brighter than... enough there. I'm going to do a quick color hold on Captain Seriously here. Color hold meaning changing the color of the line art for effect. I don't know who coined the term or where it comes from, color hold. I don't know why. But you do that, at least what I did there is instead of using a clipping layer, I just, locked transparent pixels and painted over top. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Jones and Simba. I'm glad. Like I said, I'm trying to do. I've watched a number of art streams as well, and while it's super interesting to see the art happen in front of you, I feel like it's only telling part of the story in that you're watching the art happen, but you're not seeing the artist's hand do the thing. What tool am I? Oh, I've got the inverted selection. So, okay, one more time. Let's select Dame Lady Cat. Okay. Now, there we go. Okay. And also the layout that I'm using for this is trying to answer the frequently asked questions, like what device are you using? Well, that's the VioZ canvas, which you see just above me right there. And what app are you using? Oh, that's Clip Studio Paint, says right underneath, and it shows you where you can get it too. Yeah, Dame Lady Cat and Turnbuckle Tootweiler's relationship is a fun one to explore in this series. In some ways, they're kind of like I'm doing like that Star Trek-y thing where like she's the ego, he's the id kind of thing. I'm also thinking about, because since this comic's for little kids, I'm thinking about like, okay, what are kids feeling and how do they see grown-ups reacting to that, right? So like on the previous page, when he starts throwing his tantrum, she's like, well, throwing a tantrum's not going to get the chore done, is it? It's like, well, that doesn't matter when you're like a little kid and you're just full of the emotions. All you know is you got big feelings, and mom and dad don't seem to be affected by anything. The language I use in my classroom is, let's go back down to this layer, is that I know it seems at times that grown-ups just seem to really, truly enjoy telling children what to do. And I tell them that while I enjoy it too, that's not the point. I'm actually trying to help them level up at something. I don't know why YouTube, like the restream bot is making the YouTube post like a million miles an hour and over again. I told you not to do it anymore. Restream, I guess once it's on during the stream, it's just on. Yeah, YouTube is acting goofy today. For those who are in the other platforms, I'm simulcasting to YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. And it's acting Super weird today. Now, quick mask mode. Grab her nose. And I'm going to quickly delete all the other selections. Leave quick mask. So the other idea behind this relationship, I mean, I feel like their relationship is playing on like that classic sort of, odd couple, contentious friendship kind of story. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that information, Jones and Simba. I'm glad that it's not happening on Twitch anymore, but YouTube, for some reason, it's like if somebody comments, it comes through like a zillion times. So it's YouTube. I blame YouTube. J'accuse YouTube. So another inspiration for Dame Lady Cat and Turnbuckle's relationship kind of came from was it Richard Adams who did Watership Down? I remember reading Watership Down like a couple decades ago, and there's this part where this cat's trying to kill one of the rabbits, and the rabbit tricks it, and it falls down or something. I forget what happens, but the cat like does the thing where it falls down and then it quickly like starts cleaning itself. We've all seen cats do this, and I think it's the author's name is Richard Adams. Like he says in the text is like, if there's one thing cats will not, what is it that they won't permit themselves to look foolish or something like that. It's like they hate looking foolish and they'll do anything to not look foolish. And I'm like, that feels very, as somebody who loves cats, I have 2 cats. I love them. I feel like there's a truth to that. And so I thought, well, Dame Lady Cat, because she is a cat, will also be the character who seems to be the one who's correct in the story. But she has stuff to learn too. And part of what she has to learn is to not be so darn prideful. And that's part of what happens in this story. So a whole story about like managing one's feelings. And she's like, well, I can control my feelings. I got no problem with that. What are you talking about? Well, it turns out that having big feelings it has utility as well. I see. Yeah, Steven, you're commenting on YouTube and it's popping up on my screen over and over again. Yep. Yeah, YouTube is, I don't know if it's a Restream's connection to YouTube or if it's YouTube itself that's doing that. That's weird. So actually, if you're in YouTube and you're not seeing the comments coming through a zillion times, then my guess is it's Restream bots having trouble talking with YouTube. And that's why it's showing up, because that widget underneath my drawing screen is being fed by Restream chat. That's a Restream chat problem. Because yeah, it's showing up a zillion times in my Restream chat app too. So I have to report the bug to the Restream folks. I'm on the right layer, right? Yeah, I'm in shadows. All right, so let's put a nice big shadow on this one. And save. Yeah, so I'm definitely getting YouTube chat, but it's repeating itself over and over again. Like if you say, this page looks great, Jerzy. They'll say, this page looks great, Jerzy. This page looks great, Jerzy. Like that. All right, so now I'm going to break out a little painterly brush. Concept 1, and I'm just going to go, too bright. Let's go with concept 3. Too small. See if I can get it so you can all see it. It's one of Ray Frendon's brushes, Ray, Frenden. It's from his painterly set, and actually he just had a sale for like all of his brushes, and it's like a nice low opacity soft brush that like as you trail, you can get a pretty solid stroke, but if you trail off, you see you get like this shiny metal look. I'm gonna go back a little bit. I don't think I need quite that many. There we go. Good enough. And actually, let's go to shadows layer, my shadow color, and some shadows. Highlights. And shadows. A little glow on that computer screen. And we're going to do a little bit more color holding. Sample that color, get a darker version, a little bit greener. Make sure I'm on my line art layer, and I just paint over top of the lines. And because I've locked my transparent pixels, it's not letting me paint anywhere where there doesn't already exist some ink, if that makes sense. You can think of this as black lines on a piece of cellophane. Wherever it's see-through, paint will not live. So when I'm putting this green paint on, it only sticks where there's existing lines. I could have done this with the clipping layer too. Clip Studio is like Photoshop in that way, where it provides you a lot of ways to do the same thing. That's what I was talking about with Rachel at the top of this stream, was like, main thing for me is like, what are you trying to accomplish? I want this computer screen to look like it's actually a screen with images rendered on it through light. Well, black lines don't do that quite as easily. I mean, it works, but if you can make them a little bit of like non-black lines, gives that illusion a little bit more convincingly. All right, let's do making sure to go back to my highlights and shadows layers. Quick mask. Select inverse, delete because it was selecting other colors on the screen. And now I'll grab my highlight color. Quick little couple radial gradients. Yeah, Clip really is optimized for what I need to do. Go. Oh, forgot to do these little computer screens over here. Quick little radial gradients. Last two characters. How are we doing on time? Oh man, I was hoping to get 2 pages done. All that flatting I did. That's what slowed me down. So here we have Dino Gator, which was really, I mean, it was literally just me sort of combining the ideas of like things that kids like. Kids like lizards. At least I did when I was a kid. And they like dinosaurs. Dinosaurs and alligators. Dino Gator. It has a lot of syllables. It's funny to say. So like that's also part of the math and doing these, creating these characters for kids. Is like, so this character, Professor Von Snotbottom, was basically just invented to be a germ character to like encourage kids to wash their hands. He doesn't do it. He is the anti-lesson, right? And a friend of mine was saying, like, oh, you know, it'd be better than on Snotbottom. I mean, that's still a silly name. What if he did like Professor Nasal Mucosa? I'm like, well, that's clever, but I have a hunch that second graders are going to think it's funnier to say Von Snotbottom. And sure enough, every time we show up at a school to do a reading of the book together, the kids always giggle when we get to that character's name. I mean, predicting behavior is like it's a funny game, and it's a dangerous game, but what I think I was doing there was perspective taking, thinking about the worldview of a second grader and my experience with second graders. Having been a teacher for a while. Yeah, right, Rachel, is like this is that thing that, you know, there was some stand-up comedy about this too, about like substitute teachers that they always have like a silly name, like, you know, Mr. Dinglehofer. Oops, wrong layer. So this is Captain Yarly, Yarly, which was, and that also feels like a dated thing now, because I remember that was a bit of slang. They would say in text, RLY, YARLY, Yarly. And I remember the first time I encountered it, I was like, what the heck does a Yarly mean? Like, it means, yeah, really. And since the main character's name was Captain Seriously, SRSLY, the organization chose that acronym again because of like thinking about how young people were communicating at the time, and because they take young people's health seriously. It's like, okay, well, if he's Seriously and she's his sister, she's Yarly. I think we got a page. Save. Turn on the line or the lettering. And oh, see, that's why I turned the lettering on, because I want to make sure that I get the coloring right on these, on the humph and gur. Let's fill that with white. Nope, that's not the color of a humph. Humph should be vaguely yellow. Maybe a little brighter than that. And the gur should be in the red hue. There we go. And save. And we can even close out of this one. And I'll spend my last 8 minutes on this stream coloring page 5. Now we get back to the villains. Make sure you're on the right layer, Jerzy. That's why. Got to turn your flats layer into a reference layer, so that way your magic wand will refer to the layer below. I had my inks layer set to, oops, my reference layer. Okay, so now only that layer is selected. Highlights. Let's choose kind of a sickly green for the highlight color in these backgrounds. And then get my shadows layer. Paint some shadows in here with my paintbrush. The ding dong applesauce is happening here. Did I not set the 50% multiply shadows? Oh, I still have the green selected. There we go. Like all great cartoon villains, Monstrux sits in a chair and yells at his underlings. I remember saying in previous streams, like, I was really going for like a Power Rangers villain with him, mixed with Jack Palance. I thought, like a Power Rangers villain, he should just be like berating his troops all the time. Rita Repulsa, Lord Zed. And that's the only ones I remember because that's when I watched it. It was in the 90s. While I'm at it, let's do some color holds here to really push that background back. Where is my inks layer? There's my inks layer. Lock transparent pixels. And let's go grab a dark purple and just... I'm on the right layer, right? Lock transparent pixels. Okay. But choose to darker purple? Huh. My pen tool. Okay, yeah, I'm just choosing too dark a purple. Kind of hard to see what I'm doing, isn't it? What I'm doing is just making that background not quite black. It'll look good when it's on paper. When it's printed. This is one of those things where if I had been doing this entirely digitally, I would just have drawn all these rocks in on another layer, and then I just could have like bucket filled once, just bam, hit the bucket, and everything would be filled in that color. I inked on paper, so I have to do this the old-fashioned way. And while I'm doing this, I'm also going to do the holds on Knox's bad breath, those little smoke clouds you saw next to his face. If you missed it, you'll see him in a second. And now, as I get close, I also see problems with my flats. There we go. Okay, back to inks. Let's go to these smoke clouds. These clouds of smoke are actually bad smells emanating from this big brown monster's mouth. His name is Knox, as in noxious. Interesting. Why is it doing that? As if, oh, because this layer set to multiply. Why is it set to multiply? It should be set to normal. There we go. Goodness gracious. That's why that's why that purple wasn't showing, because I had my line art layer set to the wrong mode. That's funny. Fortunately, this can be rectified. I just choose a darker purple, take my paint bucket tool, set to apply to all pixels of that color, and boom, everything's filled in now, that color. Look at that. There we go. Gonna make them go a little darker. Looks great. Okay. We are almost at time. Quick announcement about live streaming this week. So once again, I have to change the schedule. I was normally doing Mondays and Thursdays, but I think I'm going to have to do it Wednesday. Oh, Mark Nelson, how do you like the Vio canvas? Is the stylus responsive and pressure sensitive? It is responsive and pressure sensitive. Unfortunately, there's two things that are unfortunate. One is that I don't know if you can see. Let me make a new canvas so you can see this. The mouse pointer doesn't really keep up with the pen that well. I don't know if this is something. Let me switch to my overhead camera so you can see this a little bit better. See how it like there's this moment where the cursor's kind of racing to keep up with the pen. That takes some getting used to if you're used to like the responsiveness of a Cintiq. The other downside, and actually I'm totally used to it now, and I love this thing with all my heart. And this is where we get to the second bad news. They don't make it anymore. They made it for 1 year. And that was like, this thing's going on like 4 years old now, so it's getting a little up there in age. But I mean, it feels like an Ultrabook. I mean, it's like got 16 gigs of RAM. It's super peppy. It handles just about everything I throw at it. I mean, unless you start getting like the huge files, like if you start like drawing something poster size, it's like a little, I wouldn't say sluggish, but like when I'm like doing this kind of thing, like turning the screen, it'll like be like kind of jerky instead of smooth. But like I just still don't have any like big problems with lag. The parallax is like, that's another thing I love about this. There's almost no parallax. So again, if I could, am I on a layer I can draw on? No. Let me go back to my flats layer. So I don't know if you can see, like, the lines are happening like pretty darn close to the tip of the pen. You can see there's like a little bit of lag, or not, like the cursor catching up again. It's that whole business. So that's why when I'm drawing, I have the cursor turned off in Clip Studio Paint, or actually have it set to like only be 1 pixel so I don't see it. But like I said, you get used to it. But is it as nice as like say the Mobile Studio Pro? Debatable. It's a little bit more like baggable than the Mobile Studio Pro if you have like the 16-inch version. But I like it. But it is like compared to like an iPad, it's pretty heavy. I mean, I think this is like 3 pounds, 2.5 pounds, something like that. It's a pretty beefy machine compared to like say like an iPad Pro. Do I ever find that I have to adjust my drawing approach when I go from digital to analog? This is Mark Nelson saying, I find that I draw much tighter digitally, and when I draw on paper, I draw bigger, looser. That's exactly right. Yes, that is exactly my experience as well, and that's why I inked this comic on paper in order to prevent me from getting really fussy and getting in too tight and like really. So like things like this right here, like when I was fixing the flats, I noticed that there's this little bit of business on the balloon where the lines are crossing. I totally would have fixed that if I was working digitally. And I'm trying to practice not overworking the page that way. So like things like the looseness of these lines on these characters here, that's way sloppy. If I go to the pencils, let me hide the colors. I turn on the pencils, you can see how much tighter that is, right? And that's the pencils, man. So what would I have done with the inks? So you can see the difference. Yeah, so this is really, this whole project was, I was taking an opportunity to practice drawing looser and faster because I have to. I don't have a lot of time budgeted in my week for making comics right now. So I have to get more out of less time. And that was part of that calculation as well. And then also just recognizing the idea that, you know, I'm kind of throwing away time when I overwork it, when something looser will do the job. So if that makes sense. Anyway, hope that satisfied. Hey, Lucy Bellwood. Lucy Bellwood. Oh my gosh. I happen to know that Lucy's working on an exciting project with a dear friend of mine, and I'm so excited to see what it looks like. Y'all are making me want to stick around longer. Oh, thank you, Lucy. Yeah, I've been working on my live stream setup, but partially because I've been, you know, doing a lot of online teaching, and so I've been trying to work on how do I keep that visually interesting. But then, you know, no, not that one, Lucy. Happens to be something you're doing with an educational organization. I believe you're scripting something that a dear friend of mine might be drawing. Actually, a former student of mine who is now, you know, a young adult and I can't call them a student if I'm not teaching them. So they're my friend now. Yeah, this person reached out to me and says, "Do you know Lucy Bellwood?" I'm like, "Oh, you get to work with her?" I said, "You are in for a treat." Yeah, she's great. She's great. I think you're going to enjoy working with her. She takes the work seriously, but I think in a healthy way. So I guess I'll color a little bit more. I know I said I was going to end at 11, but I didn't count on so many kind people showing up. Keep me company. So, got the chair. I'm going to leave this bad guy for later because he's got some complicated stuff on him. Like I got to do like a lot of like funny glowing on his armor and such, and that requires a little bit more than what I've been doing with this page. But I can do maybe some of these villains in the background. Let's do Nox, my big meatball character who makes bad smells and wears a loincloth. Again, entirely calculated to make second graders giggle. And shadows. quick turn on illustration they do to finish later today. So this is going to be me after I make breakfast. I'll be thinking about you, Lucy. If you can imagine me shouting at the top of my lungs, we believe in you. I need a sound clip of that. Something I do in my workshops when I'm working with young people, and like there'll be like a kid at the drawing board, and they're doing some kind of demo. They're doing something to like demonstrate the techniques we've been learning in the classroom, and I'll literally have the other students in the classroom scream, "We believe at you," all at the same time. I need to get that as an audio clip to play. Oh, cool, Lucy. Yeah, I mean, let me know when you do it, because I will. I mean, if you're on Twitch, I will subscribe today. Or wherever you do the live streaming. There's my stinky guy. Go to his stink clouds and lighten those up just a tiny bit. Well, thank you, Mark. Yeah, you've probably heard me talk about this. This is like completely a dream job. It's such a perfect confluence of everything I care about. Right? I get to make comics for young people. I'm getting paid for it, and the comics are given to the children for free because kids don't have a lot of discretionary income. And then like the comics are made with the help of their school administration, so like we ensure that like, we're actually addressing things that the kids in that community need. We're not just walking in like, well, we're grown-ups. We just know what kids need. We talk with the people who actually work with the kids. All right. Thank you, Lucy, for that link. I will quickly... I'm subscribing right now. Oh. Gotta put it in the right browser. Like, log in so you can subscribe to Lucy Bowood. Oh, I already logged in my other browser. And... am I already following you? No. Yeah, where's the subscribe button, man? Ah, follow. There we go. So, y'all, follow Lucy Bellwood. You won't be sorry. If anybody remembers, Lucy and I used to do a podcast together. Galaxy of Super Adventure, which was like part radio drama, part comics talk show. Yeah, I know. I'm with you, Lucy. This making stuff it's so hard. And that one was a tricky one because like there were so many of us doing it, right? Me, you, Ben, and Zach, just as like the base characters. Suddenly it's like, well, how do we schedule this? How do we make sure that we can all be there to do it, right? Like that alone is already like such a huge point of friction. All right, I'm going to finish with Madeleine here, and then I've got to wrap this up. Is there an online archive for art and story? There needs to be. I have all the files. I'm fairly certain I have. So for those who don't know, Art and Story was my very first art podcast, which I started in co-started with my friend Mark Rudolph in 2007, ages ago. And it was like the first thing I ever did that like got like a fairly sizable audience. A lot of people loved that show, and I'm grateful for all of the support that I had. But finding a place to put the files, I've been meaning to like maybe just like put them on like a Gumroad or something. The main thing is I want to put them in a place where if people want to support us for making it, like let's say people are like, oh, I put it on Gumroad, you can download it for free or you can pay what you want. I want to make sure there's a way for Mark and Kevin to also get their share of whatever people would donate. Or I just put them up for free. But then I also have to make sure that Mark and Kevin are okay with that. So it's a bit of a logistical thing that's stopping me from always doing it. And it's something that I know I need to do. I'm also, I mean, there's a part of me who cringes at the thought of it too. Since like, you know, that was in his early 30s, Jerzy, who had some very powerful, strong opinions about comics that he doesn't have anymore, right? And on the one hand, it's like, well, who am I to say whether or not people should have access to that? I mean, like, I let people have access to it once. Why not again? And also, that's like sort of a record of young me, right? What should I be so afraid of? Yeah, I was young once, and I had some strong opinions about comics and art that don't necessarily reflect where I am now. That's okay. We change and evolve as people, right? I mean, just like if you're wondering what I'm talking about, it's like I had a big chip on my shoulder about comics as people respecting comics as an art form. And so like when motion comics came out, I had like, I kind of threw a fit. Like, don't call them comics, please. Please don't call them comics. They're not comics. Comics are static images. And if you celebrate them because they're moving, you're kind of saying that like comics as a medium is less than. I'm like, okay, you know what? And I remember when I was getting so mad about it, Nick Abadzis was like, yeah, you know what? It's not that important, is it? And I was like, it is. We gotta make a stand on these things. Now I'm like, no, he was right. It's okay. People can call it whatever they want. Steve, your strong comics opinions only got worse. I think where my passion lies just changed. I have very strong opinions on things in comics, but it's just like it's not about like whether or not we use the right language that the world respects the medium. It's like, calm down. All right, let's get her eyes real quick, and then I'm out of here. And then I gotta go. Very mild thing, but okay, we've got a start on the page. Wish I could have gotten done more, but oh, 30-something Jerzy. He was a lot like modern Jerzy, but he was like 15% angrier. But Steve, you've been across the table for me when I get mad about certain things in comics. You've seen it. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out with me while I do this. I'm going to wrap this up, and then I'm going to stream again tomorrow. Or no, not tomorrow, Wednesday at 10 a.m. because Thursday I got conflicting schedule stuff. But you know where to find me. Twitch, YouTube, all those places. It's all congregated at live.jdrozd.com if you want to see, like if you want to watch on a platform agnostic place. It's just being streamed into like a little page on my website. Yeah, it was good. It was good to talk with you, with y'all, Lucy, Steve, Mark, Rachel. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will hopefully see y'all again. Until then, I've been Jerzy Drozd, jdrozd.com, Jerzy Drozd on Instagram. Okay, bye.